school's open and it's on its way. Everyone's getting used to their new schedules and their teachers and classes, and it's a lot of fun. Last weekend was Septemberfest, and I went to that. It was very fun, and homecoming's coming up in about 2 weeks, so that's about it. Sports are started and having their first few games, so.
Good. And it's your senior year, so we wish you well.
Thank you.
Good. Susan.
Just welcome back, everybody, and happy to get started again.
Tom.
The only thing, a couple of items mentioned over the summer. One is went to the Board of Finance audit meeting with Peter Askham and with our auditors that basically are going through that. And I know Burke was there with me as well, and there'll be a bunch of follow-on assignments as well. You know how that goes. And then Todd and I were at the Board of Finance meeting as well over the summer. So good summer fun. You know,
Good summer fun.
Audits,
Good summer fun. Well, this is good. Board of Finance was good over the summer. That's too bad they aren't like that all year. Good. Todd?
Other than the Board of Finance, nothing.
Geez, you've had a great summer.
Great summer, that's right.
Mikey.
All set there?
Chris.
Nothing, Lydia.
Michael.
Nothing tonight, Lydia, thanks.
Kara.
Just congratulations and thank you to all the teachers and faculty and staff who got our kids to school and got everything rolling fast and efficiently. Everyone, it was nice and seamless, and I want to thank everyone for all of their hard work to make sure that happened. And I also wanted to make a mention of a teacher, a wonderful teacher. It was in the paper this weekend that he has died. He was 85 and he taught at Simsbury for 38 years. And his name, John Klingler, Mr. K. He was an exceptional teacher, and he really inspired all of his students to accomplish way more than we ever thought any of us could. And it was just nice to reflect on him and be thankful that Simsbury has great teachers, and we're lucky to have him.
Oh, good. Sorry I missed it. Now, did you have him as a teacher?
Yeah,
You
he
did.
was great.
Chris, did you have him as a teacher?
I didn't. I knew him, but I didn't have him.
No.
Didn't have him, so good.
One of our final projects for fun, he had us perform Noah's Flood for the other classes, and he had us do it in Old English. Old English and sheet togas, and we were good to go. That was our last fun thing to do for the year.
More importantly, can you recite it now?
No. I don't think I could do it then.
So, oh, good. Well, it's always.
But he was wonderful, 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 and we do have a lot of exceptional teachers here, and he was absolutely one of them.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that lovely tribute to Mr. Klinger. Erin.
Yes, I would like to remind the Board of Ed curriculum committees and also the other board members that we will be holding the PSAT and SAT administration on October 17th. So I want to, some communications have gone out. What's in your folder is Mr. Sullivan's May-June newsletter outlining really the rationale behind, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We are actually going to hold this administration on a Wednesday. Other area towns have done it for several years. And in our conversations, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Fisk, and myself, with the college, with our college board rep, we're given the opportunity to provide this opportunity to our students. And what we do know is that research tells us that students that have the opportunity to practice the test multiple times have opportunities to improve their skills and knowledge over time. So we are offering the PSAT to all 10th graders, and the school will pay for that. And all of the 11th graders that typically take it, and most of them do, will also be sitting for the PSAT on that day. And we were given the exception, which is not usually done, but able to provide the SAT to our seniors as well on that day. So given that that morning will be taken up with 10th, 11th, and 12th graders doing either the PSAT or the SAT, we're offering an assembly to our 9th graders from the Anti-Defamation League on bullying, tolerance, and so they'll be in the auditorium for that presentation as well. So it's a very well thought out day, and just wanted to give you some information. Like I said, communications, we've met with the Board of Ed Curriculum Committee last spring. The newsletter that went out, there's been communications that have gone out on listserv to parents, and the sophomores and the juniors, I think, have already gotten the information. Seniors on the SAT will get it tomorrow and Thursday. So that will happen on October 17th. First time we've done that. Okay.
Sounds very creative, innovative. We've got a a lot going on in
And
one day.
one of the things I didn't mention is for those of us that have had children that have taken the PSAT, you really get a wealth of information. Students get back what they did really well on and areas for growth, and they get opportunities for online tutorials. So not that they take, it's an opportunity over the course of the year from their sophomore to their junior year, but it really is quite informative. And if parents should probably sign up for the College Board and can get information as well on it. So it's really, the College Board has done significant work, and likewise, we get information on our students on how they did for instructional purposes in the classroom. So we're excited about it, and we'll let you know how we do.
I think it also helps the students feel more comfortable, bottom line.
Right.
The PSATs are just so helpful to make them feel more comfortable.
To reiterate that for the 10th graders, this does not count toward any national merit scholarships, or it's truly
It's a practice. It is a practice. Correct.
Unlike the juniors.
Correct.
So just, I know that my daughter and a couple of her friends were asking me.
A little
who are
worried about it,
sophomores.
but it is a practice.
It is truly a
And-
practice.
right.
Very helpful.
Good. Look forward to hearing about, especially with the Anti-Defamation League and the bullying.
Yes,
That's very,
yeah,
very
that will be a
interesting.
great opportunity.
Have they done this at other programs like this, at other schools, other districts? Have they-
We've done it in the past as well. We've
Oh, I
had-
know we have.
yes,
Yeah.
Other schools do it. They do, for the freshmen, they'll do assemblies, and
right.
sometimes, most schools don't get the opportunity to do the SAT. So I know a neighboring town, on that day, seniors had it as a job shadow day, so it was a really purposeful day for kids. But we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have the SAT, and most seniors will sit for that at that time. And they're monitoring who's taking it and who's not, and they'll have plans in place for kids. So it is a regular school day.
Sounds interesting. Good. Thank you. Sue?
Well, you'll be hearing from me
Welcome.
later in the evening,
Welcome.
but just wanted to share that the past 2 months in this new role have been nothing short of fantastic. So it's great to be here.
Well, we're pleased to hear that. So a new face, but a familiar face around the table. So good. Thank you. Welcome. Bert?
I'm going to save most of the updates for later on, but hopefully without stealing anything that Lydia or Matt were going to share. We were contacted for a joint board meeting between the Board of Finance, Board of Education, Board of Selectmen regarding 6-year capital plan. So we're trying to get dates scheduled and look forward to sharing that once that's determined.
And I have to ask you, do you feel that summer meeting with Board of Finance, as Todd and Tom said, went well also?
It did. I think Matt and I were pleased with the dialogue and the communication.
Good. So maybe this will continue on, if a good summer meeting continue on. So good. I'll tell them you said that.
Well.
So, all right, moving on then. And I would like to just welcome to the for members in the audience and for those watching at home. We are back in a new school year, so we welcome all teachers, students, staff, and new superintendent.
Thank you.
For a new school year. And Mr. Curtis.
Yes, just a couple informational items, and I'll kind of kick off the school opening report when we get to that piece. But Aaron, Sue, and I had an opportunity to attend a state workshop that really helped us to better understand the new evaluation model that will be coming into effect at the beginning of next year that umbrellas both teachers and administrators. So what we're going to do is put together a presentation at the 9/25 Board of Ed meeting that will really outline the framework of what that looks like in terms of our ability to modify the potential plan and what's different from current practices now, and answer any questions that you have. And we're currently working on a continuum of communication to our internal staff to get the message out as to the work that we'll be engaged in this year to be ready for that in the fall. So I think that'll be very informative for the board. A second piece I'd like to share is, I had sent this out in a prior update, but the State Board of Education has upheld a hearing officer's ruling about preschool magnet school tuition for local education agencies, and we will not be responsible for paying the tuition as a Board of Ed for preschool magnet school tuitions. What that means to us locally is about $40,000 when we looked at what we spent on that last year, so I wanted to pass that along in public this evening. And the third item, which was really exciting, I happened to stop by Central School last week, and our Simsbury resident, Sarah Hendershot, our Olympian, was there to speak to the students of Central School. And just, I guess I didn't see the assembly, but the feedback was it was a wonderful assembly when she talked to the kids about chasing your dreams and motivation and goal setting, and really engaged the crowd of kids there. So it was really a feel good for both the school and I think Sarah as well. So.
Good. Okay, it was great.
right.
It was a great summer watching Sarah in the Olympics also. So, and thank you for that report for the preschool magnet tuition. That was a very important
Yep.
decision. So, and it affects not only us, but it affects all the other districts that send their students, particularly Farmington Valley, to the magnet preschool. So, all right, moving along. Recommended actions. Exhibit 1. So we have approval of the minutes of the June 2012 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
I abstain, Kate. It's not there.
Motion passes. We are on to Exhibit 2, approval of the minutes of the June 18th, 2012 meeting.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion passes. We are now on to the minutes, approval of minutes of June 26th meeting. Motion?
So moved.
Mike, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion passes. We are now on to Exhibit 4, and that is the approval of minutes of the July 18th, 2012 meeting. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Abstain.
Chair abstains. Motion passes. And we are now on to Personnel, Exhibit 5, and that would be Sue.
Fantastic. I do have a couple of motions for the board to consider this evening. The first is a notice of intent to retire from 2 of our teachers here in the district. First, Sandra Lipscomb, who's an elementary teacher at Latimer Lane School. She's currently been with us for 21 years. Her retirement, would be effective June 30th of 2015. The second is Craig White, who's currently serving as our computer network manager. He's currently been with the district for 32 years, and his retirement would be effective October 1st of 2015. So I'd like to make the recommendation that the board move to accept the notice of the intent to retire of Sandra Lipscomb, effective June 30th, 2015, and Craig White, effective October 1st, 2015.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
The next recommendation has to do with some resignations that we've received over the summer months. The first is from Jessica Pierleone, who is a special education teacher at Central School. The second from Tom Baird, math department supervisor at Henry James. Kristen Tosco, school counselor at Simsbury High School. Patty Mentel-Broad, social studies teacher at Simsbury High School. Christine Bialski, special education teacher at Squadron Line. Erin Carlisle, special education teacher at Simsbury High School. So the recommendation would be for the board to accept the resignations of Jessica Pierleone and Tom Baird, effective June 30th of 2012. Kristen Tosco, effective July 18th of 2012. Patty Mentel-Broad, effective August 2nd, 2012. Christine Bialowski, effective September 14th, 2012, and Erin Carlisle, effective September 21st, 2012.
Good. Boy, we're busy. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
And we will continue on.
Yep. Well, these don't need an action,
right,
so
right,
Sue
so-
will cover new employees in the school opening.
That's right, that's right. Okay, sounds great. All right, I also have an addendum to the agenda that just came to me yesterday, and I'm sorry I didn't get this into your packets, but I have a nomination form for the CABE 2012 Distinguished Service Award, and this is going to be presented at the CABE CAPS convention, and the nominee is Don Blevins, who is former Board of Education chair and also former president of CABE. And this award is a Distinguished Service Award, which is presented each year to the individual who has been a member of a Board of Education and has served public education in Connecticut with distinction. Don has been involved in education for at least 20 years, and he has been very active with CABE, also at state level, also at LEARN, which is the rest down in the Waterford, or Waterford is part of the LEARN rest down in that area, and that's the board that he is from. So, and his activities have been involved with National School Board, also state level, testifying on behalf of Education for Education Committee. So, the reason why I'm asking this is that a Board of Education needs to make the nomination that I pass on to the Board of Directors at Cade. So with that, I'll entertain any questions, if you have anything. If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept.
You have to amend the agenda.
I have to amend the agenda. I have to amend, can I?
To take on the motion.
Right, I need a motion to amend the agenda for a Distinguished Service Award nomination.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And with that, I would like a motion to nominate Don Blevins for the 2012 Distinguished Service Award. Do I hear
So
a mo-
moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. This is a surprise for him. And past recipients have been Cal Hemingway, who you know from neighboring Granby, who has been a longtime board member active in the state in education. God bless you, Tara. Mary Broderick, Bob Hale, who is down from downstate, who's also been involved, and Shirley Thompson, who has been involved in Bloomfield Board of Education, and Tim Moynihan, who is a former Board of Ed member and also a former state legislator. So thank you for nominating. I appreciate it. Okay, we are now moving on to, and Katie, I'll get that to you, remind me, or I'm going to forget. Information and reports, Exhibit 6, school opening reports. Back to Sue.
Yes, I will just kick it off momentarily before handing it off to Sue and just say, I wanted to thank Sue, Aaron, and Burke, and really the administrative staff for all the work that they do in preparing for the school opening. As you know, with the hiring that goes on in the summer, it's probably the most important thing we do as a district to make sure that we get the right people in place to work with our kids, and I think we've done a wonderful job with that. But essentially, the school opening report covers 3 main areas. It covers our staffing work that we've done over the summer, as well as our curriculum work that I know Aaron will speak to, and the facilities improvement. So they've put together a presentation that we're ready to present this evening and answer any questions that you do have on those various components. So I will turn it over to Sue.
Great. So the first component, as Matt just shared, is staffing, and we were thrilled to welcome 22 new faculty members to our district with a range of experiences, and they bring a quality and depth to our already incredible teaching faculty at the Simsbury Public Schools, K-12. So we're thrilled at their caliber, and we're confident in their ability to bring instructional excellence to the classroom for our students. What I would like to do, you do have in the personnel exhibit more detailed information about each of these 22 candidates, if you would like to refer to that. But I would almost just like to take the opportunity to put faces and names together for you. So if you would turn your attention to the PowerPoint, that would be fantastic. Can we see that? Do we need the lights dimmed, or are we all set?
They have it on their
On the netbooks.
netbooks
Oh,
as well.
fantastic. So first, we'll start off with the new faculty members of Simsbury High School. We have Laura Ballin, who is our speech and language pathologist. Again, I won't read each and every slide. You do have this information in your exhibit as well. Dustin Chassie, who is a physical education and health teacher at the high school. Graham DeRuse. Graham actually was a long-term sub for us at the end of last year, and we were just very impressed with Graham, and he's officially our science teacher now at Simsbury High School. Melissa Listaco, another math teacher for Simsbury. Raquel Martinez Carrillo, Spanish teacher, and she also has her French certification as well. Doug Nielsen, he is our business teacher and will be addressing the financial literacy component, which we have talked about before here at the board for the Simsbury High School. Pete Pilo, a new addition as school counselor. Mary Ann Shupe, who is actually going to be a special education teacher at the Farmington Valley Transitional Academy for us.
And the Farmington Valley Transitional Academy is where is
University of Hartford.
University of Hartford
right,
is where
right,
it's
just for
located, Lydia.
public knowledge.
Absolutely. Also, Doug Slater, he is actually going to be the Pathways teacher, special education teacher at the high school. And Steve Turgeon, who is going to be both at Simsbury High School and Henry James. In a split position. He was I think our last hire before the beginning of the school year. So he was absolutely thrilled.
Well, it says, excuse me, but you says his years, but he's taught at E.O. Smith before. Oh, 0 years here.
Student teaching.
Oh, good.
Student teaching was that,
Student teaching.
yeah.
That's very nice.
So at Henry James, we actually have two, a social studies department supervisor, Carrie Grotto. Carrie comes to us with a number of years of experience, most recently in the West Hartford Public Schools, which has been a great addition so far to our department supervisor staff at Henry James. And Kirsten Andrush in the Family and Consumer Science area. She brings a wealth of international experience as well. From Central School, Kim Broussard. Kim was actually, she's been with us in the Simsbury Public Schools. She was a tutor at Terrafil for the past 4 years. Thrilled to be a part of the kindergarten roll call at Central. From Latimer, Tamara Edney. She was a tutor in Simsbury for the past 2 years, but will be in grade 5 at Latimer. Also Jennifer Ruane, special education teacher. At Squadron Line, Catherine Anastasio, a reading intervention teacher that we have. Kelly Callahan, grade 3 teacher. And Kelly Hodgson, grade 1 teacher. It was great to see all three of these ladies together. They had actually, most of them had known each other previously as parents and as members of the Simsbury, just the school system in general. Pam Lindley, grade 3. And then at Terrafil, Janine Fawcett-Nash, who's going to be a speech and language pathologist. At Tooten, Haley Brown, kindergarten teacher. Kate Goodrow, special education teacher. And that completes our 22 new faces to the Simsbury Public Schools. They had gone through a new teacher orientation from August 22nd through the 24th. In your information, you'll see the specifics to those sessions, but there was a variety of collaboratively defined, delivered, facilitated sessions regarding our beliefs around our vision, our core beliefs of continuous improvement. Matt kicked off the orientation talking about the importance of the high expectations that we have of our teachers, but also the importance of instructional practices and collaboration. It was great because we had some teachers who had just completed their first year in Simsbury, and they presented on the importance of collaboration as well. Erin had 2 teachers, a department supervisor and a teacher with her, as she presented on the overview of our curriculum documents and the guiding principles with understanding by design. And we also touched upon teacher evaluation, the principles of that, and how we really reflect a strength in that area, and how it's all about growth and support of our teachers. So the informal feedback that we've received from those 22 folks has been extremely positive in nature, and they felt that that new orientation was a great way to get them up and running for their new set of students. They're anxiously anticipating their arrival, and they're all smiles in those first couple of days, and those smiles continued, so that was great. But it was a great way to start off that new teacher orientation. Again, in your packets, you'll see some information regarding the experience of these 22 individuals, as well as their academic preparation. Absolutely, Tom.
Are there any, are all the open positions been filled at this point in time as we open the year? I mean, 22 is quite a lot, but we also have big schools. I just was curious, have we filled every vacancy?
We actually have one opening still, a special education teacher opening, but that process is well underway, and we look to have that person in place very soon.
Can I just add one?
Absolutely.
That was a resignation we found recently about the individuals moving, but we have the ability, and the individual has agreed to stay on for 30 days. So we'll have, there'll be transition there that won't be an issue for the kids.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Susan, can I ask a question?
Of
Just in the
course.
categories of, hiring the 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 plus years, any insights or experiences where our salary structure works, where there maybe where it didn't work as well? Just any insights into our structure?
As far as, the salary of people coming on?
Competitiveness of what we're offering.
I think that that's something that we're going to have to look at down the line, and I'm sure that we will be doing that, although our teachers are very thrilled to be a part of Simsbury. So, did I find that people were saying no thank you because of salary? No, I did not in this hiring process, but
Right.
I think that that's always something that we have to be cognizant of.
Okay. And I ask because I know that we have increasingly been kind of sliding a little bit below the metrics of our peers, so that's why, I'm asking. I would agree. I think that's an important area we're going to have to look at down the road.
Absolutely. So at Convocation, not only did we have the opportunity to share these new faculty members with all of our district-wide personnel, but we also had the opportunity to celebrate tenure of 21 individuals. Again, in your report, you will see all of those individuals listed. I will not, for the sake of time and efficiency, list them all this evening, but tenure has received some negative press as of late overall in the media, but here in Simsbury, tenure is a wonderful celebration, and we believe it's a culmination of the initial years and the hard work that teachers put into their instructional practice with and for our students. So it was great to be able to celebrate the tenure of those 21 faculty members. Finally, I just want to touch upon student enrollment. Again, you have quite a number of details in your packets. We're going to actually be giving a much more detailed and focused account of our enrollment after October 1st. We use October 1st for a couple of reasons. One, those are the numbers of enrollment that we report to the state for enrollment purposes. Those are also the numbers that we use in our projections as we work collaboratively with NESDEC. And we use that October 1 date because it gives us, as well as districts across the state, the ability to kind of even out our numbers and to see kind of inflow and outflow. So you'll be getting much more detailed and accurate data after that October 1st report. I believe it's going to be given on October 9th. But just two things that I do want to highlight. We have had a decrease in our enrollment, slightly off of our projections of 2012 and 13. We're looking closely for the preparation of that October 1st report, but why that's occurring. We've seen a decrease specifically at our secondary levels. So again, I'll be giving you some more feedback upon that decrease in enrollment. On the flip side, we would like to also share that our kindergarten enrollment is higher than we anticipated and projected. So it's the largest cohort that we've had in a couple of years, so we're very excited about that, and we'll be watching that cohort closely as they matriculate through the Simsbury Public Schools. And I know that Erin will be talking a little bit in her piece about the full-day kindergarten as well.
Are we still within guidelines at the kindergarten level?
We are still within
We are.
guidelines. Absolutely.
Good. Any questions about enrollment? We look forward to that October 1st report. Very inclusive,
Absolutely.
very comprehensive. Good.
And I'm going to turn it over to my friend Brooke LeClaire.
Okay. For the business office portion of your report, a similar format, just a couple of pages. And starting out with ending of the fiscal year, that's something that keeps us busy over the summertime. We just recently prepared and submitted our financial reports to the state. And prior to the audit, we expect to return a modest balance of $16,508 to the general fund of the town in keeping with past years. In terms of capital projects, later on this evening I'm going to give an update about the one new project regarding the district network infrastructure, so I won't highlight that. And as I've done the last few years, give you just some visuals. I'm not going to go through that list that you have on the second page, itemizing some of the summer projects. Just want to sort of close the books on the Henry James boiler project, which we had a full heating season last year, and I have one slide on that. Just wanted to highlight that that project came in under budget, and it also received energy efficiency payments of $33,000 from CL&P, which were made to the town for that project also, and that's something that Steve Twitchell, who's here this evening, our supervisor of buildings and grounds, was involved with from the planning stages, and we're both very, very pleased with that. Also just highlighted a few of the technology areas where we were busy this summer, Jason Casey and Joncia Litwinick, regarding purchasing of student laptops and carts, document cameras, smart boards, and projectors. We had to locate some in their new kindergarten classrooms, And there were a lot of infrastructure improvements to the network, such as a new email server and a new web filter. And I want to point out that the annual Simsbury Fire Marshal walkthrough that happens before school can open with Steve Twitchell, all 7 schools were done in August. All those issues were corrected prior to the opening of school, but there was a very small list, and Steve did, and all of his staff did a great job in preparing for that annual walkthrough.
That's good to know, 'cause I think a few years we had a longer list, and we worked overnight to fix some issues.
So-
I'm just a question on that, on the fire, was there anything out of context, anything that they felt?
No, actually, the buildings in general, as a whole, would be in great shape.
That's good. It's when you maintain your buildings, then we get a good clearance by the fire marshal.
And just to highlight some of the slides, and if I could ask Katie to just hit the lights, because it was did a dry run earlier today, and it was hard to see what was in some of these pictures. The first slide, as I mentioned, is just really the finished project of the boiler room. It's absolutely beautiful. Compared to what
have the before and after.
Yes, we had a before and after slide last year, and this is really the final.
We did see that, yeah.
And it's very well maintained.
Mark, are those missiles hanging from the ceiling?
Do we have a board walkthrough as a field trip to see all this? It's we hear a lot about it, but we really want to see it. Will you schedule that for us, Steve? To do that?
Award-winning boiler.
So there are now
That's
4
a blue ribbon.
high efficiency gas boilers where there used to be 2 large tanks. They were just immense.
We're very excited. You guys are very excited, Burke, about this. We're excited as you.
It was a scary place. It's no longer.
It's no longer. That's right. This is the nurse's office at Latimer Lane. This flooring is a rubberized floor that you'll see throughout the district. So that was one of many locations this summer where that went into play. And we have new cafeteria tables at the Latimer Lane cafeteria. You can see that's made a real difference there as well. Squadron line, on the left we have a new sound attenuator for the generator, which is a welcome thing from the neighbor's point of view. And on the right hand side,
What is that again? Can you explain?
it's basically when this generator has to test on a weekly basis, or when it got called into service this past fall, it's very loud to the outside. So this helps to muffle the sound.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Very big muffler.
Okay. On the right-hand side, the picture shows the Squadron Line cafeteria, brand new ceiling. Again, if you could see the before and after, you'd appreciate that. And we did that in Tooten as well. Some outside work, Central School. You see that the curbs were deteriorating outside, and Steve made sure that we got that taken care of before the start of school. At Central School, when you walked in to the modular wing, this was the old hallway, and this has been transformed into the preschool bathroom that has been sought after for quite a number of years. So that was a project that Steve really served as the general contractor and pulled a lot of pieces together, and it came out really, really nicely.
That's not modular. That's part of the real building, though, right? That's not the modular. So that's the regular building. So that's forever.
So this, yeah. So this was sort of this was sort of the entrance to that modular wing, right? That's a good point, Tara. Thank you. At Terrafil, on the left-hand side, we installed a doorway so that the 2 kindergarten classrooms could be adjacent to each other, and that's in keeping with how we do some of our other groups of teams. And on the right-hand side, we put in some new flooring for second grade classrooms. At Tooten Hills, we expanded to utilize what had been a district-wide supply room, and this was returned to its former purpose as a classroom for kindergarten. So you see before and after. They want to really recognize that some of our some of our staff had just a few days before school to put their rooms together, and we made that transformation. It was nerve-wracking for staff, but Steve Twitchell, again, with his maintenance crew and other staff, really stepped up and helped to assist in that transformation. At Henry James, on the left-hand side, we have a picture of the electrical system. The main switch gear was replaced from, I believe, the original building, Steve. And so this is a real proactive effort on Steve's part. So if we do have a power outage and need to bring the power back up, this is now something that we don't have to worry about. And that was a significant effort. So it's not something you're going to see or it looks all that exciting, but it really is a big thing that I'm glad we've done proactively.
Now, is this just for, if the power goes out, this will kick in so the power will come back on?
Yeah, the biggest problem was that it was the original switchgear, and we had trouble in the past of re-energizing. We've tripped the breaker before and re-energizing, because I think we did once or two. We just could bring the building back up without a lot of, bringing electricians in and high voltage power from the pole. So when we did the boiler project, we did a PM on the right-hand side of that main switchgear.
Preventative maintenance, Steve, right?
Maintenance, and we realized we had to do it on the other side as well. So we scheduled that for the summer, and we took it all down and did it, and had Westinghouse in there and rebuilt the whole system, and we're back up and running. So
now I'm going to ask a very naive question. Do we have this system in all the schools?
Yes, we do.
Is this so? This was
every building.
Got that.
Like your main circuit panel at your home.
Thank you.
Larger.
But is it safe to say this was one of the older ones?
It's safe to say it's probably the oldest one.
Okay.
The other ones have been upgraded.
So this.
And speaking of upgrades, on the right-hand side, you see a lot of bathrooms were renovated throughout the district. This is just one example. At the high school, the Career Resource Center was relocated now to an adjacent area right off of Guidance, and that makes a lot of sense. So this was a little bit of construction this summer, and oops, hit the wrong button there, pardon me. And now we have a sort of a multi-purpose Career Resource Center adjacent to Guidance. Down in the high school, across from the Library Media Center, you see a new mural that was done just before the opening of school. This next slide shows you the length of what had been a very boring hallway in terms of Neil Sullivan's term of what that just very neutral color was. Well, now it's very different as you walk down there. I want to recognize that not only did we have an artist who helped with these graphics for the mural, but also our own custodial staff chipped in to do a lot of the painting that you see here and managed to pull this off before school started. So one of the nice things about this is that it's not a mural that, should it need to be maintained, is going to be difficult. It's a simple number of colors, and we will be able to maintain this with our own staff. So this is sort of ending of my portion. Just want to recognize a lot happens over the summer. Steve and his maintenance staff, his custodial supervisors, and all of their staff do quite a bit of work to make sure that things are ready to go. And I just want to say thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Great.
It's nice to know we can count on you. We do. I know you're called on in oftentimes too late to save the day, and you do a good job. Thank you.
Steve, I just wanted to add to that people don't realize sometimes how busy the buildings are in the summer and how many different programs we have. We assume that students aren't there, so we have all kinds of opportunities to clean the buildings and create these improvements, when really you have to be very strategic about it, because the amount of downtime we have is pretty limited. So we know it's a challenge, and thank you.
I wanted to comment as just that project about the switchgear at Henry James. Just finding a day for that to be down was challenging, with summer programming happening, continuing ed, special ed, Parks and Rec. Just to echo Matt's point, I mean, it's hard to even schedule summertime downtime.
Right. So.
My only comment about the hallway is the kids are missing being able to sit there in free period, just to let you know.
But they've moved the benches to a couple different
right
areas,
in that hallway that have been moved now.
The front lobby, which is loud and hard to focus in.
Right.
Just saying.
The hallway in the Simsbury High School is I haven't had a chance to see it. I don't know if anyone else has gotten over there to see it, but it was a very nice article that was written up recently in one of the media. So talk to us a little bit about that for the public, and if they hadn't read that about the hallway. What was the inspiration? How do we find the artist and the purpose of the mural?
Well, there's a beautification group within the high school of staff, and they've made progress each year. I used to sit in on some of those meetings. So this was something that they had been talking about. This was sort of a next area that they wanted to target. Very long corridor, as I mentioned, that was just kind of plain, and you're trying to make it a more inviting space. So I believe the artist gave 3 proposals to Neil. Neil sought input, chose this one, which had symbols that represented various aspects of not only sort of its proximity to the Library Media Center, but to other activities that happen at the high school. So it was just a good effort to change the atmosphere a little bit in a positive way.
Good. Who's the artist?
C.J. Lamar.
Yeah.
And she's a sister of Jacqueline Petrella, the math department supervisor at Simsbury High School.
Right. Had she done something else for us in the school system? Am I thinking of her?
She did do another mural.
She did another mural
at the high school.
At the high school.
She did up
in the new gym, the annex in the gym.
That's it.
That's the one. That's the one. That's right.
Yeah, that was the last, I believe,
a couple
2 years ago.
2 years ago she did that?
Yeah.
I think so.
But I had a chance to
Very
see her while she was finishing it and learn more about it, so that was great.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's great. Any student feedback from it, from the mural? I'm just curious. Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry. Why am I looking here? Student feedback. What's your thoughts on this?
I love the mural. My 4 years at Simsbury High School, walking down that hallway, I always thought the hallway was really, really boring and that we needed something there. So I'm glad that finally happened. Although I do agree with Mrs. Bullerup, I miss the benches that were there because it provided a place where it was still quiet and you could work, but maybe they'll put them back. But I understand the problems with students getting too loud during lunch down there, so that's my thoughts on it.
Good. But it was a surprise when you walked in to see that mural there.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a good surprise.
Good. Very good. So, good.
So I will take the responsibility for the buildings being busy because we had a lot of work of teachers working in the buildings and students in the buildings. So within your report, you've had a pretty detailed overview of the kinds of activities that took place during the summertime, and I'll highlight a few of them. We actually got a jump start on our professional development work with teachers last June because we had 3 professional development days due to that inclement weather that we experienced during the last school year. And so during that time, I'll just highlight a few things. Our elementary teachers worked on developing their knowledge and expertise around the Common Core State Standards and as it aligns to their curriculum. We've done, we did other work with teachers regarding instructional strategies that align with the Common Core State Standards. Our secondary teachers during that PD time took time to score their end-of-course assessments and look at student work and really begin to look at their own instructional practices as well to get students to that end-of-course assessment. We also had a very successful technology conference on Wednesday.
That's right.
It was quite exciting, and actually in your packet, in your folder, this was what every teacher got when they came in on that Wednesday morning. So if you just were, and I mean, it's got all the highlights of technology, but this really gave you an idea of the kinds of workshops and activities that were available to teachers around technology. We had over 40 of our own teachers under the direction of John C. Eli Twinnick that were actually offering these workshops and classes to our teachers. So you can see it on that. There's a description of them, and then we had teachers evaluated as well. So
was this a workshop just for us, our teachers, or
Yes,
you
it
opened
was.
up to other districts? Or?
No, it was just for ours at this time. Right. This was the second year that we
Right,
did it.
right.
We had done it only for the secondary teachers the previous year, and we thought it was such a success that we wanted to make sure we opened it up to everybody. So I don't know how Joncia can do it, but she pulled this off in a really professional, comprehensive manner. So very much appreciated by our teachers.
And will you do this again next year? You'll have
We have it right now tentatively scheduled for the March full day.
Oh, we do,
So we do have
Oh,
it.
that's
So we'd
good.
like to make it a
That's-
yearly
Absolutely.
opportunity for teachers. So the other part that we had with the summer academies, we did have kids in our buildings a lot. Our summer literacy academy, the theme was safari, and it was a journey with nonfiction text. Our mathematics academy was growing math, and it had a garden theme to it, where students really were able to use real life skills, mathematical applications in designing a garden and calculating the growth of the plants. So that was, and those two academies, our literacy and our mathematics, are really identified for some of our more struggling students. Our writing academy is for students with a passion for writing, and the theme of that this year was Extra Extra, Read All About It, and it was students writing newspaper articles, and very well attended. At the secondary level, there was a number of curriculum projects that were completed by our teachers in collaborative groups, ranging from either 2 teachers working together up to 5 or 6. And you can see that we either revised or redesigned some of our curriculum: English, math, science, social studies, art, guidance, world language, family consumer science, tech ed, PE, health, wellness, pathways, and library media. So we did a tremendous amount of work, and I actually had the opportunity to sit with Mr. Sullivan and review the documents, and we're actually meeting with all of our department supervisors to review them again for quality control purposes as well. Other professional development opportunities, it's always great when our teachers have opportunities to go out and get their own professional growth during the summer from other places. Melanie Swider and Helen O'Connor attended an August Writing Institute at the Teachers College in New York City, and the focus on that workshop was turning classrooms into richly literate reading and writing workshop models. We had several high school teachers that attended advanced placement courses. It's something, it's not a requirement in which to teach the course, but we periodically like to help teachers refresh their skills and teaching instructional practices around AP, and so we selectively try to send anywhere from 4 to 6 teachers every summer for that kind of updating. And one of our teachers, this is required, any teacher to teach the project Lead the Way, and the new course is the medical interventions, and so that's a 2-week course in Baltimore, I believe, and a teacher went to that. And you're going to ask me.
I'm sorry. Never mind.
I will get that to you.
That's great, though. That must have been really interesting.
Yeah, and it is. Every Project Lead the Way course that we have, that we offer, the teacher has had to be trained through that 2-week course. And finally, also in your folders is the Simsbury Arts Academy. Again, we had a very successful summer. It's always amazing to see what Cindy Rem can do for our students over the summertime. 30 students that are entering grades 1 through 3 studied art at Latimer and at Central School. 110 students entering grades 4 through 12 studied visual art, strings, jazz, musical theater at Simsbury High School. And the culminating at the end of the program, this year it was called Into the Woods, and it was really a wonderful art exhibit and concert and just an unbelievable performance by our students. So we also have faculty members from the Simsbury Public Schools and also people from Hart that join in and work with our students. So it's a very, very busy time, so I can understand why you can't get into the buildings and get the work done.
But it's our art teachers from our elementary schools
Yes, it is.
who basically don't take the summer off. You know, what I mean,
Right.
they want to stay in the thick of it, and with the
Right.
students, we're very lucky.
Right.
Karen,
Yes.
on the technology workshop, the teachers who taught all these, the classes are very varied. I mean, who actually gave the presentation? Was it teachers teaching other teachers?
Yes,
Or is
yes, it was. So Johnsey has established a pipeline and network of teachers who really do great things in the classroom, and with herself and Brian Marchinkowski going around and saying, you know, you really do this very well. Would you like to present a workshop to the teachers? And over 40 people stepped up and said, I really would like to do it. And they typically didn't just do it once, they did it multiple times during the day for the teachers.
Everything from like Photoshop to
Yes.
Right.
Google, I mean, so many things.
Right.
To an app for
So,
that.
more to come on that.
That's great. Yeah. Were there any particular classes you're looking at the workshops in here? Any that came to mind? Any that teachers really we're more interested in, or something that,
What the teachers are trying to get better at the Google apps and really trying to understand that more. But all of these, it was hard to say. I mean, and it was really it was like a workshop. It was a conference as if you signed up for it. And we actually gave, I can't remember this year, did we give stickers
We
this year?
did. We gave stickers.
So we gave stickers when they went. They had to like get a sticker
for their-
so that we were, keeping track of where they were going and that kind of thing. And
That's great.
So, but an evaluation for all the presenters. So we have a wealth of information. So I can't tell you for sure, Tom, what was really more populated by people or not, but I can probably get that from John Cena. But
You heard a lot of comments, like a teacher standing around going, there's like 4 things that I want to go through this period, but I can't. So they would divide and conquer. You go to this and we'll share information. It was just a really high energy day.
right.
good. And you'll have a repeat in March for PD for all
That's what we're
teachers. That will be.
expecting to do.
Oh,
Correct.
that'll be good. I'm sure the 40 teachers that attended will.
And we'll invite you as well if you're interested.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh, that's great.
So Aaron, you have some visuals
Oh, I do. I'm sorry. I
to
didn't say
welcome the newest
How can I-
students.
how can I
A lot of work
say
that
something?
you put into it.
We do have pictures of our kindergarten. It was something that we thought would be a nice follow-up to you, to show you. So here's kindergarten at Terrafil.
Oops,
Oh,
sorry
yeah,
about
too
that.
fast there.
We'll back
Squadron
up.
line. Did you have 2 at Terrafil, or was that just
No,
the one?
we just,
Okay,
yeah, we
just
had
that one.
some, with more than one.
Okay, squadron line, look at the 5-year-old standing
The
writing on
sand
the.
table's back.
I didn't even know.
Wanting to write their names on the pad.
Yes, all of the stations that we talked about, the various centers that students are working at,
Is the post office back?
in some schools. The rugs are adorable, and, you can see how attentive they are to their teachers, so happy to be in school. Latimer Lane, kids working on puzzles. Smart board work, and you can see they're right at the right level.
Appropriate size, yeah.
A
Are
5-year-old.
they standing on a, are there, there's
No,
low?
they're
Box
on the-
there, no?
It's
Right
on the
at
floor.
A lower smart,
appropriate
yeah.
height.
It's,
Yeah, they're
it's at their
low.
height, at the
Yeah.
level.
Is that- Okay, we've got Tooten Hills, students, and
Throw a
Central.
little math center. I think that's the last one.
Is that it?
That's great.
So, it was with the kindergarten teachers, we were checking in with them and, making sure that the students by the middle, after lunch, had a little bit of time to rest. And really the biggest problem over the first few days is the kids did not want to rest. They just wanted to keep going.
That was
So,
my
but-
next question. What are the comments and the
I'm sure
feedback on?
now they're getting, back into
Right.
the routine, or not back into, but getting into the routine. But by all reports, things are going well, and kids are happy to be there, and they're there for the full day.
Any comments from parents of the new kindergartners coming in?
Not only positive. I have not heard anything of
Good.
concern from a parent yet. I've not, the principals haven't shared anything with me to that extent, so.
Do we have many people picking up early?
None
or
that
is
I know
everyone
of.
kind of
None that I know
sticking
of.
around?
Right, they're
Okay.
staying.
Okay.
We had given that option, as you remember,
Right,
that if
right.
they felt they wanted to pick their child up midday, they could. But at this point, I have an
They're all
elementary
full.
principals meeting tomorrow morning, and that is an update that I'm going to find out from them.
They're all full day, so.
No, I think we're extremely fortunate to be able to offer this as a community at this time, and I think what you'll find, and there's already an awful lot of communication within Dirk B schools of other districts now really looking to move
Right.
in this direction with a couple of, ourselves, Glastonbury, and a few others that have already moved in this direction. I think you'll probably see much more movement during this budget cycle.
Right. Did Granby, did they move to a full day K this year? Do you know if Granby
They
did this?
did.
They did. They also did this full day K, okay.
But I do have people, other assistant superintendents calling me, trying to get the
Right,
information.
right, it is.
So I'll be meeting with
How
a
you
few.
did it in 4 days?
That's right.
That's great. So, and again, how many students enrolled in K? Just out of curiosity. You probably have it here, and I overlooked it.
We do.
244,
I was just going to say 244.
244.
244 is correct.
44 in K, so.
We had originally about 228 had estimated.
Right, so we did have an increase due to the full day, so, which is what we expected, so, good. Good, all right, so, and as I was looking through through the packet here, through the reports, it's interesting because, and especially, I think I'll just reiterate on the bottom paragraph here, 60 teachers worked on revising units of study in all areas to align with the Common Core state standards. And that is an important statement because, as you all know, we are moving toward this not only as a district but as a state. And this is something that is here to stay, and I'm glad that we are really jump-starting on this. So, good. Thank you. Very, very inclusive. All righty. We are moving on to Exhibit 8, Facilities Enrollment Task Force Update, correct? Is that where we are?
I think 7.
7. I'm sorry.
Educational
I'm sorry.
tech first.
I'm sorry. Educational Technology Plan.
I think Burke is going
Right.
to kind of walk us through an update of the virtualization, and Aaron's going to talk a little bit about how we plan to report in the future on the Board of Ed's technology kind of framework and goals.
Okay. Have a fact sheet for the board, and as you recall, the voters approved in May $1.8 million capital project, multi-year for the district network infrastructure client virtualization project. And essentially, the first phase is what we've started with, and it began with a contract with Walker Systems out of Farmington. And we signed that in early July, and they began to build the infrastructure for us here in early August. So we're now at a point where we have a small number of actual clients that Jason, Joncia, and others will be able to do some test work on. So this this so-called private cloud that we're going to be creating, we're focusing on trying to improve the speed and the upgrade to Windows 7 and Office 2010 is one of the most obvious changes that will come when we start this process. But we're looking for faster overall startups and trying to focus in the first year on classroom PCs that run the smartboards and projectors and things of that nature. So roughly 500 clients is what we're looking to roll out this by the end of this year. So it starts with professional development, as Aaron mentioned earlier. Joncia, Jason, starting to pick a small group of people to help work on this pilot over the coming 6 weeks or so. Beginning in November, the plan is to start with our smallest building, K6 at Terrafil, and kind of see how that rollout works. But we need to do professional development that will be provided prior to any of these changes taking place for our staff. Ultimately, the goal then would be in December to roll this out to classrooms in all of our seven schools. That's kind of a quick thumbnail. I don't know if there's questions about.
I mean, I have a quick one actually. The PD will really be centered around the interface of the teaching tools, if I understand correctly. So, how will the smartboard that I've become familiar with a certain software change as a result of? So not necessarily new tools, but a new interface to get comfortable with.
Correct.
Okay.
And just getting comfortable with how what it now looks will change with the log on.
Right.
For people who have Windows 7 at home, that might be easy, but for others, it is a very different. Office 2010 is very different. So.
And do you think November to December is enough time to roll it out?
I'll talk about this in a minute.
Okay,
Is this,
never mind. No, but he just said that. He said
Oh, did he?
he'd
Okay.
start in Terrafil in November, and then beginning in December,
Oh,
he'd start
okay.
going other places. Is that going to be? Is there enough time between those two, or
What
I'll wait
they're-
till you go?
Right. What they're attempting to do is put together a pilot group of teachers to begin
each?
to work out the kinks of it. Start with a small group, then bring it to Terrafil School, and then bring it to maybe Henry James School.
And
So that
just
you have
pilot
this
groups as it goes.
incremental growth, so that you can work out the bugs and that you understand what the issues are before you
That sounds
do
very
it
smart.
district-wide. So
Very
it's
smart.
an aggressive trying to get it, but yes, we would hope by November. We're trying to use some of our professional development days as our target dates to make sure that we have time in which to be able to do some of the work.
Is once it rolls out into a classroom, does that mean the teacher can no longer? I mean, there's no way for once it rolls into their classroom that they can't do it the way they used to.
It will be different. Yes, that's correct.
So they really have to be comfortable because they might have a curriculum plan in place that they're not going to be able to use because they aren't ready to use the new one.
Right. So we have an innovative group of teachers that we will work on it with first, so that they can help us try to figure out what those bugs are.
And teachers who want it?
And teachers that are interested in doing that.
Okay, good.
Because you're absolutely right, once you make that transition,
It's a permanent
that's
transition.
it. You're
I
not
see.
going to be able to go back to the way that you
We
used it
can't,
before.
yeah.
So going back on the 15 teachers, so how did you select these particular pilot teachers?
We're actually, Johnson's meeting with the elementary principals tomorrow and the secondary principals on Friday, and we're beginning to identify people in that way, and we'll get them together and have conversations. And Johnson also has a group of people that are on her technology committee, and those folks also typically will step up and do it
And
as well.
has anyone volunteered as of yet? or-
No, just very few people. We haven't made a massive rollout of it yet, so originally it was just getting it up and running, to get the
Right.
virtualization, to get it built. Now that it's ready to go, now we have to now say, who can we start to get on?
But
line?
we don't have a complete, if it's complicated when we first roll it out, we could hold it back.
That's why we're doing small.
Okay.
That's why we're doing the stages of it, because if we run into glitches, we can fix it.
We can stop
rather
before
than
we-
working with a massive group of people, working with small groups of people, and then building upon that.
Okay.
Not going to be all that complicated,
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
think. It's
No.
the same environment. It's a Windows environment with
Exactly.
Microsoft Office.
It's an upgrade, right.
It's going to look a little newer, a little nicer, I think,
Correct.
and work a lot faster. So I would think it would roll out pretty quickly.
I
People
would
will make
think.
the transition.
I would think so.
Hopefully.
It's
I just
gonna
don't
be-
want to panic anybody.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
I think John C's concern is just that she wants to be able to test all the applications that we
all
use in
software.
all the
Right.
various
Right.
classes,
It's a
and
lot.
just make
We
sure that
don't
it
want it
runs
not
the
to be
way
accessible.
expected
It's a
to.
lot.
The basic
We probably have some old
applications are.
legacy stuff that's going to have trouble running on a more
Right.
modern platform.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
That's the
sure.
problem,
You know,
right.
the only way we're going to find that out is to try running.
Right.
But, this
It's
is
exciting.
This is
Very
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 exciting.
exciting.
It's
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
Huge,
Just the pace I
huge
need to
leap
be.
forward for us.
I want everyone to be happy.
And, I think it's going to open up a whole lot of possibilities,
It
you know.
scares me.
It will. And, so you'll give us another report come December when we're starting?
So I'm going to continue telling you a little
okay.
bit more about it, because back in June, you approved the 3-year technology plan. And so what I'm passing around right now is just a quick update on some of the work that's been accomplished to date. And then I'm going to preview what you see behind you of what we think is going to be a tool that we will use to chart our progress over time. So just to give you an overview, in the technology plan, there are 5 areas that must be addressed by this plan over the course of the 3 years. The first one, update and improve the reliability, sustainability, and access of the district computer system, and we've begun to do that. A new filter system to better implement the policies. We have more control. Developing virtual desktops for the pilot thin client. That's what we just talked about. And we replaced our first generation of laptops around the district with a current model. So in computer talk, we had Dell 500 series, and now we're into Dell 600 series on those computers. For the second major area to be addressed was the innovative subcommittee of the technology task force committee to research and support innovative instructional and assessment practices through the use of technology. So this is where we're generating members, drafting expectations. We have an iPad user group, and there's an initial meeting date that's been set for that subcommittee. The third area in providing resources to successfully integrate technology into the classroom, a major piece of this work. We had, as we talked about, the June 20th Technology Conference. We've identified priorities for the 2012-13 school year to include providing teachers with online opportunities, webinars. Johnson's doing a great job at in our faculty portal, and a place where teachers can go and look at webinars on various topics, whether they're around technology or instructional practices, and just-in-time videos and resources. And then the March 22nd Technology Conference that we talked about. The fourth area, expand access to learning resources beyond the school walls for student and staff. This is something that we've been talking about it a lot, and it's something that we have to be thinking about. So the Google Apps that I had mentioned earlier has now been expanded to grades 5 through 12, where it originally started, which was grades 7 through 12. We have YouTube, youtube.edu, which is an educational YouTube site for students. iTunes U accounts will be established this fall. the resource page for teachers, utilizing their BYOT, Bring Your Own Technology to Class, in development and publishing on the September 15th, which is an in-service day. Johnsy is also using other opportunities and systems that we have already in place in the Loop, and she's going to, it's a monthly internal sort of communication device for teachers, and she's going to have a segment in that and really give some updates to teachers on various new initiatives or ideas or websites that they can go to. And then finally, improve communication to the community on technology plan status, policies, and regulations. So the various forms of communication she's going to create, as you've seen for the music department, you've seen it for the world language department. She's going to create a 2-pager technology update for faculty and for the community. And then the timeline that I'll speak about right now that you can see behind you, and I've given you a black and white copy. This is not what you see, it looks like this that you're looking at, whether you're looking at it on the black and white or on the, within the plan, we also then created 5 goals, and the 5 goal areas are engaging and empowering learning experiences, technology with assessment, teaching and learning connections with technology, infrastructure for teaching and learning, and productivity and efficiency. Now, the 4th and the 5th goals are where you're going to really hear about the actual hardware and the virtualization and those kinds of things, whereas the other pieces really pertain to the classroom work. So Johnsy worked hard this summer. I think this was something that we were trying to figure out. How can we develop a action plan and figure out what we're working on and keep track of it over time. So this was a visual, and this will be an interactive visual, because actually what you'll be able to do is, for example, if I was to, you can see all the goals are color-coded, one is green, and the different goals are different colors. So if I was to press on number 1, January 31st, 2013, the 3rd page that's stapled to yours, when you press on that dot, this action plan would pop up, and it would give you the work that we're working on. I don't have it interactive yet. This is just in,
I'll tell you, this is one creative project management crew. Because I was on
you
that,
asked for it, and we've got it.
on that,
Oh, you were involved
I was a
with that.
witness to that subcommittee at one point, technology. They're phenomenal. This is great.
So this, as I said, what Johnsy and her team has done is prioritized, and that's why you see these goals. These are the prioritized goals that have been extracted out of our 3-year technology plan and put into a plan from August of 2012 to July 2013. So this is the work that we anticipate accomplishing over the course of the year. And we'll put that on the website and make it very transparent.
That is great. That is really. Good. Any other questions on?
Seems to me they, wasn't there a discussion, Bert, that at some point when the, what amounts to sort of our proprietary cloud is up and running, that we would extend that service to the town outside of the Board of Ed?
I think there was just a general conversation that we should collaborate with that. I mean, the town doesn't have any specific plans that I'm clear on yet to do that. There's somewhat of there's communication between the IT department within the town and Jason Casey on the system side, but I don't know that they're expecting that to sort of solve problems, that's a solution for the town. I think they have some of their own.
Discussion probably ought to start at some point, because it's a logical platform. You know, the scalability of this, the population of computers that are in the town can't be that great compared to what we're supporting and expect to support in the future. So if there's a point at which we can, for a modest fee, we could extend
We could.
or maybe not so modest.
I'll talk to Rick Bizzano and
So this,
find out his thoughts.
when it becomes active, live, I should say, we will come back periodically to the board and give you an update, and it will, as I said, be active and live for you to also view over time. in real time.
Can we, is there any way that we can be a part of some of these seminars that you do with people to see it in action? I remember when the smart boards came, you gave us a couple meetings that we could go with
Sure.
people and
We
learn.
can
I would
certainly
love to
invite
see
you.
it in person, so
Absolutely.
that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
You know, the technology, what did we call that training thing you did over the summer? It escapes me now. We
The
just talked about
conference?
it.
Conference.
Technology
Okay.
conference.
It was a very complicated word.
It's after 8.
You know, if in the future we can record those and stick them onto the web and make them available to, especially if they're well done, make them available to the kids and,
Right, right.
you know, it's ongoing training. You
Yeah.
know, it'd be terrific if we
Great
could
way to
just.
capture the learning.
It really is,
Yeah,
and
we're
it's
doing it, and
yeah. It's something we've
Very
talked
true.
a lot about. We've even have fabulous teachers across the district, and we can learn so much from one another. And if we
Yeah.
can just remember to grab that flip camera and, you know, capture some of
Sure.
that. But those technology ones, I think, would be extremely powerful as
Great
well.
if we could get them up as a
Tripod and a little
Yeah,
cam.
yeah,
little sort of training session
Sure.
that
Then they're not-
they can do.
right, right.
And everybody, you could take them as refreshers.
That's it, and if you saw the lecture and say, oh, there was one piece that I just didn't quite, I
didn't-
was
I missed
writing
it.
down.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
you can go
right.
back.
We're going to have
Yeah.
such a robust
think it'd be
backbone
great.
now that we should be able to run that kind of video without any
Yeah.
problem at all.
Yeah.
But,
It's really helpful.
Aaron, thank you very much for the follow-through on this. I was one of the pests who was asking you for that.
No, it wasn't a pest. It actually you gave us a vision, and hopefully
Oh, that's
we'll
terrific.
follow through with it.
Wonderful.
That's good. And I'm gonna piggyback on this, and I'm glad that you brought this forward, because, and I'm glad you brought forward about the whole plan, because as we move forward with Board of Finance and budget preparation, I think it's important, you had a great meeting with them during the summer, to keep this good spirit meeting going, especially with this.
You keep saying great, just so you know, just to clarify.
So, well, I trust you probably better than some meetings that we may have had. But it's important to keep them abreast too, because we know during budget preparation, we do know questions that are going to be coming from town side and from Board of Finance side, and also from resident side. So it's important to keep this.
But it's
keep
an
this
amazing,
moving.
it's an amazing opportunity for our schools and for our students and for our town. So we should just keep
Absolutely.
telling everyone as it improves and progresses. It shows how cool it is.
Emily, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about? I mean, this is something.
I think
I know
it's-
you're leaving in a few months. You'll be graduating, but.
I think it's great though, because technology is becoming a huge part of our everyday lives, and now teachers are asking us to bring in like our iPads if we need to like buy a book for class. Just if you have an iPad or an e-reader or something, just bring that in and read the book on that. And like sometimes teachers ask you to bring your laptops and just use your own technology. I think it's great, a great
Good.
timeline for everything.
You know, it may be worthwhile now to point out that in some of the work the board did over the last few months or last 6 months, we did encounter districts that are requiring incoming freshmen at the high school level to have a tablet.
Yes, they are.
You know, that's our big challenge, I think,
It
is how
is.
do we integrate the technology owned by the kids into our systems.
Right, right. Yeah, you're very right with that, because some of the districts did pass in their budgets that they also are supplying, and not every student, every class, but that is out there, and it's going to be increasing more. And again, it could be a budgetary issue, a
wonder if
budgetary
it's-
problem, but it's also something that as you had mentioned, we are requiring more of you for
Well, I think,
curriculum-based.
the technology is going to touch every aspect of what we do, from instruction to the actual learning tasks that we define for kids. So it's really got to be a big part of our conversations, I think, in upcoming budget seasons. I know we're actually meeting with John Cia tomorrow to talk a little bit about, from a policy standpoint, how we're going to look at the bring your own device and start to set some parameters there and have a clear direction of which way we want to go with this. But it's something that you're seeing other districts have pretty detailed conversations with, and it's something now that we know what we're going to do from an infrastructure standpoint. I think we now need to look at what we're going to do from an educational standpoint with technology. So.
I wonder if one of the data points we should begin collecting is just how many of our kids at the high school level or at any level already have a tablet.
We've been
or-
talking about that, trying to get a sense of that.
Or a
Right,
laptop
right.
and
We
or
haven't done
a
it.
web-enabled smartphone, or, however you
Yep.
want. Just to see.
Yep.
Good, thank you. That was very good. Anything else? Are we?
With the
Exhibit 8.
facilities.
Yes, we're
and
moving on
enrollment
to, it's exciting about the technology. We're looking forward to hearing more, so we worked hard to get that passed, and we're very grateful. Now, on to Exhibit 8, the Facilities Enrollment Task Force. And that will be Burke.
I was going to start with just a little summary of where we've been, and I think Matt will talk about next steps. Again, I have a quick fact sheet for the board members regarding the task force. Began meeting last November, and our members from this board, Susan and Tara and Mike, know that, and there's others around this table and in this audience who've taken part. Charge of duties, again, to provide a range of options for the Board of Ed to consider regarding use of our facilities over the next 10 years, looking at existing data as well as projections going out. We got the projections from both NASDAQ as well as Peter Prouda. Each showed a significant decline going out 10 years to 2021-22, and because of the difficulty in projecting beyond five years, the NASDAQ portion, we hired them to do some further work regarding demographic trends and trying to look at where the economy of Simsbury and the region may be impacting us going forward, which is one of the reasons why that they were a little more optimistic about how steep the decline would be going out. All of the elementary buildings were reviewed. There were walkthroughs with NASDAQ staff, and also we looked at Henry James. And we know that there'll be excess capacity within our K-6 level over the next several years. And the range of options that were reported back in June that NASDAQ gave us, essentially it's a continuum with three basic areas. One is to look at removal of current modulars, and the other two relate to looking at reassigning or closing one of the elementary schools, and in either case those would require us to redistrict. So that's sort of kind of the general range, but then there's a lot of details that need to be explored within each of those options. But to emphasize again, this task force role was not to come up with a ranking or to make decisions or choose how this will happen, but simply to give more of the pros and cons and really dig into it deeper and then provide that back to the Board of Ed. We're looking, now that Matt is on board, we're looking to restart, and the communication will be key over here, and we know that even amongst this board, we haven't been able to report back recently and need to kind of restart things. So I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thanks, Burke. And I would just pick up on the communication being key is really something we need to think about. I know that these first couple weeks of school, part of my plan is to meet with each of the PTOs at all the schools. I met with Latimer Lane School this morning. This is one of the topics that came up because when I did send an introductory letter out to parents, I talked about the fact that this is something that is currently in process from a review standpoint. So it gave me a good opportunity to talk, just as Burke has, where we are in the process and kind of what next steps are. So I will plan to do that from a reach out standpoint initially to each of the parent communities to describe process. In terms of next steps, our team has gotten together and really taken a detailed look at the report. I know members of the board know that when I was here, projections and that work was something I was very involved with. And there are just certain basic elements of information that I'm asking that NASDAQ provide to us, and Burke and I had a conference call today with NASDAQ to talk about some of those things that include things like individual school-by-school projections are missing from the overall report. And if we're going to have detailed conversations, potentially about modulars and removal of modulars, we need to know from a strategic and projection standpoint how that will yield the capacity in each building. So I think that kind of information will help us as we move forward. But next steps, as I see it, would be to bring the committee back together, probably in October at some point, and look at each of these three options that have been put on the table and create subcommittees for those options, and those subcommittees would research at a deeper level from a cost, from a feasibility, from a redistrict standpoint, so that what we end up with is a real strong body of evidence and research in each one of these areas, so that when the time does come, to make decisions, we have the information we need. And as Burke said, it's not the committee's job to make a recommendation on any of these. I think it's for us to have our information ready for when the time is right, and we have collective conversation about when that might be. So I'm not in a position at this point to say I have a target date for when that'll be done. I believe we want to report back at some point this year what those findings of those subcommittees will be, but I need to get with the committees a little bit and have a better handle on what those processes will entail. When we think about things like potentially utilizing a building for other programs in the district, I mean, there's a lot of different ideas that can be vetted and be discussed, and I think the first thing is to kind of narrow those ideas, focus them, and really research them appropriately. And as Burke and I said, there's a lot of cost information to each one of these things that would need to be put together and analyzed so that we can really do a good job in presenting that information back to the board. So, I don't know if anybody has questions on that. Sure.
You know, Matt and Burke, I noticed that on the committee's report, when it talks about the three options, it always makes reference to implementing in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
Why that year, and is that a critical year in terms of implementing something to be successful?
I wasn't here for that piece, Chris, the 2014-15 year. I've talked about that. I've discussed that a little bit. I mean, to my view, it's not an absolute critical point when you look at the projection numbers, which are what would drive that for me when you really felt the need to make a decision based on the numbers and different things going on. From the staffing standpoint, I do know that we have 2 retirements of administrators in that year, and that may have brought to light the conversation that if something different was going to be done with the building, that may be a timing factor, but I would really hesitate to make that the driving force behind making the decision, but I think that's where that may have come from.
Okay.
Question for you, or anyone here. Pete Prouda, you maybe can explain to the board who Pete Prouda is and why you had him give you the...
Well, he had provided estimates, I believe, for us in prior decades, prior years, and he had worked, I believe, for the State Department of Education for many years, retired from that, and is a consultant who does that work regularly. So we tried to have more than one firm to
It's interesting because NASDAQ projects a 16.2 decrease, and he projected 25% decrease. That's a pretty large...
Yeah, I think there's a number of places where the experts, so-called, disagree. You know, one is, are we in a downward trend of population that's going to remain down for some period of time? Or is that the normal sort of ebb and flow of things where we go down for a while, we bottom out a little bit, and we start to climb back up? I don't think we know.
No,
at this stage,
I don't think there is any.
You know, the charge of the committee, as Burke and Matt have said, is really just to look at, identify the options and then look at the implications, operational, educational, from a curriculum standpoint, and to some degree from a fiscal standpoint. You know, there's lots of nuance. If you start closing things that you receive state funding for, you may have to return some of that state funding. So, you know, there's all kinds of nuances to this, and our committee's goal was just to sort of look at this stuff, answer all those questions, and then bring it back to the board. And it's just entirely up to the board to decide when and what and so on. And it may, you know, the time will tell, I think. You know, we don't know. One comment I would make is that I think that in our budget process going forward, we almost need to have, in addition to this facilities and enrollment task force, which is focused on what do we do with a population that's 20% or 25% lower. I think the other question we're going to have to ask ourselves is, from a budget standpoint, we almost need a budget task force which looks at the same issue. What does our budget look like when we have 20% lower enrollment? You know, we know the Board of Finance is going to ask us that question. You know, I don't have any great ideas, but I think it's something that we're going to have to really struggle with in the coming years. No question we're going to be struggling with it. Yeah. The expectation of a lot of people is that if we have 1,000 less kids, our costs should come down by some amount. And I think we need to think this through, and these are going to be...
I agree, and how we communicate, too, how programs have shifted over time, and I know we do provide information each year to the Board of Finance about FTE over enrollment, and that's an area of interest to them. And we've also tried to supplement that with a deeper level of knowledge about how programs have shifted, such as special education, and programming parameters are different than they were, and space needs are different than they were at one time. But it's a consistent challenge.
And
to
when
do
you
that.
lose 1,000 students, it's not whole classrooms in grade levels.
Correct.
So that's the hard part.
Correct. And I'd say, too, I mean, it doesn't make these conversations any easier. I think they can be difficult conversations to have, but this isn't a unique situation to Simsbury.
No.
That many of the towns are seeing in this area declining enrollment. The district I just came from is seeing equal declining enrollment. These are conversations that people are having now as you know, we know we need to be responsible with all our resources and planning, so.
Yeah, it's an important point, and I think also going back to when you had mentioned 2014, 2015 too, and going back to what you had said, Mike, even budgetary process, if should we close or should we do something different and have to return money? We don't even know what the state legislature, we don't even know where they're going to be come 2014, 15, where they are right now, where they are presently, but that still is time away. So we have no idea what those laws are going to be, what the revisions are to some of those bills in terms of any kind of bonding or any kind of construction or any kind of, flow of funds coming through. So that's another factor that's out there. So
One last piece in our conversation Burke and I had with NESDEC today was, having them put together kind of a proposal for us from a service standpoint about facilitating some of these groups. I think it would be important to have a facilitator other than one of the administrative staff so that we can participate in the thinking of the group rather than facilitate the group. So that's something I would like to see as we move forward with our planning on this.
That's a good point, because we are now at that critical point too.
Yep.
So.
All right.
Good. Any other questions on this? All right. Thank you. We are now on to Exhibit 9, review of Board of Ed subcommittees. And as you know, by the Board of Education bylaws, we adopted the establishment of the committees. And I won't read the whole, but you understand what the committees are here. So I had emailed all of you about previous committee assignments from last year, and seeing no change from anyone moving to any different committee. You will all remain on your same committees. And again, the committees are policy, personnel, negotiations, and curriculum, which are the standing committees by bylaws of Board of Education. And temporary committee is the facility enrollment task force. And as you heard the report before, that is a temporary committee. At some point, when they complete studies, will no longer be around. And then, of course, the liaisons to administrative committees, which is Leadership Committee, Athletic Advisory Committee, Special Services, Technology Advisory Council, Track and Field, Youth Partnership, and Pension. So these are the committees that will be set forth for the year. And I spoke with Matt in administration, and forthcoming will be the working document as Erin had prepared last year with Diane for each of the committee, the charges that each of the committees will be having. So we will have that coming forward, and that will give us a good basis and framework to where we...
Folders and charges on.
In the folders. Hold on, did I miss this? Where is this? If you all look in your folders, as Katie had mentioned, I'm sorry, in here. Yes.
I think Lydia is
Yes.
referring to a list of topics, particular policies for the policy committee we may
Right.
be discussing.
Last year we had just for each of the standing committees.
Correct, topics.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the topics. So that will be something, that will be the framework that each of the committees will have as we go forward. And noting that in some of the committees, in policy and curriculum, there were some areas that were subject to change, and that, of course, will come forward. So, any questions on subcommittee assignments? And as I said, and for the public, the subcommittees are really the working committees of any Board of Education, and these particular 3 committees are the standing committees that do meet often and do cover the groundwork for Simsbury Public Schools. So again, I thank all of my board members here and colleagues for your time and commitment for those 7 a.m. meetings or late meetings in your committee work and assignments. So, all righty. With that being said, where's my agenda? We are on to second public audience. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to executive session, so I need a motion to amend the agenda and add executive session. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And our next meeting, and can I hear a motion? Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Very good. And our next meeting of the Board of Education will be Tuesday, September 25th at 7 p.m. here. And thank you.